Hi, welcome to Recovery to Practice, and thank you so much for joining us today. I have a very special guest, which I'll be introducing here in just a second, but I wanted to welcome you to this page. You are seeing us on the Recovery to Practice public Facebook page, and thank you so much for joining us. If you happen to be catching us on that replay, let us know that you stopped by. We would love to say hi to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us here. So I am Carrie Breedlove. I am the current program coordinator for Recovery to Practice. We are housed inside the University of North Texas, and we are funded right now through the Addiction Technology Transfer Center, the ATTC, that's out of UT Austin and is the Southwest Regional Office. So we're so grateful for their support, and I'm so grateful to have Brooke on today. We are talking about the power of social media in recovery and how that all comes together. And I could think of no one better than Brooke to talk about her own story and just the amazing power of connection that has happened through social media and just in part of her own recovery. So Brooke, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm super nervous.
That's okay. We're so glad that you're here. Well, go ahead and just let people know kind of who you are and how you came to be in Recovery to Practice, and we'll start there.
Okay, so I'm Brooke. I am a person in recovery from both mental health issues and substance use disorder. I found Recovery to Practice through Facebook suggestions, and when I went back to see how long I had been in the group, apparently I joined about a month after you created it, Carrie. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Like, I'm finding that out in this moment. Wow. I didn't know you found us through, like, it wasn't even through someone telling you. You just found it through Facebook recommending it. Wow.
Right. Yeah. So that's another part. A funny thing about Facebook algorithms is I was frequently interacting with my friend Trevor Fuller on Facebook at that time, and so a group that he had just joined called Recovery to Practice showed up on my suggested groups, even though there were like 100 members at the time. So it wasn't that, oh, this is a popular group or anything like that. It was just like, hey, this person you interact with on Facebook also interacts with this group. You might be interested. And so I joined.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't even know that. That's amazing. Well, so tell us a little bit about just finding your place in the recovery community and how that came about through Recovery to Practice.
Okay. I don't want to get too deep into my personal story, which I'm more than happy to share. It's just really long. But I've been in recovery in some form or fashion since I was 19. So in 2006, that was the first time that I entered treatment for substance use disorder. And the first time I was introduced to the different methods of recovery, which at that time was inpatient rehab followed by 12-step groups, and that was fine. And I was able to scrape together multiple stints of long-term, 2 years plus sobriety, but I was what people would call a chronic relapser. So I ended up committing enough felonies to earn a 1-year stay in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I did 13 months on a 1-year sentence. On a 4-year sentence, sorry. And after I was released, I knew that I should get plugged in to the recovery community so that I would, stay out of prison. Those summers aren't fun, but I found a group called Drug Addicts Anonymous, who they take the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and replace the word alcohol with the word drugs. And I jumped headfirst into that method of recovery. I was speaking at treatment centers, sponsoring women. I worked a lot with the adolescents at Nexus, and I loved that. I had never found something that I loved so much as working directly with other women, and particularly young women. At the time I was 24, and so I was able to really fulfill like a mentor role to them, and I loved it. But things didn't work out with that group, and so I the group helped me determine that I was not a real drug addict. So, right, which is ridiculous. So I ended up, of course, I relapsed for a short period of time, and then I stopped using drugs again on my own when I became pregnant with my daughter, Mackenzie. And so I stopped abruptly, and I completely checked out of the recovery community from that point forward. I accepted the fact that I didn't belong there, that if I could just stop, that I didn't have a place in recovery and that I couldn't be in recovery. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm still sober, and I have a really rocky pregnancy. My third child was a twin, and his brother passed away the day after they were born. And I had a nervous breakdown. So it took about a year of unchecked grief, depression, things like that, before I had a full-on nervous breakdown. But I did, and I didn't know how to handle it at all. And so, of course, my mind, having substance use disorder, my mind was like, okay, we can't handle the thoughts that we're thinking, so let's do meth. And that's what I did. So that was rocky, and it sucked, but during that time, my children were taken from me and placed with my parents. And I had a little bit of free time on my hands because I didn't have 3 kids under 5 directly in my care every single day after that. Of course, I was clean at that point, and I got back on recovery to practice. So that is where all of a sudden light bulbs started going off. I saw things about many pathways. I saw things about peer support, about an ethical way to empathize with people. So a relationship that was more structured than a sponsor-sponsee type relationship, and something that could be done in a semi-professional capacity. I had during that 5 years of sobriety, I had gone through most of my college classes that I needed with the intention of becoming a counselor. And I thought that I would be a substance abuse counselor, an LCDC. But, you know, of course, dreams shattered, forgotten goals, things like that, and self-doubt. But whenever I jumped back into RTP head first, I found out that not only did I have a place in the recovery community as far as substance use disorder, and of course that it was called substance use disorder, not substance abuse, things like that. I found that I also had a place in the mental health community. And I had never, it seems obvious now that there's a direct correlation between substance use disorder and mental health. And many times there is. There are people who have strictly one or the other. And there are many, many that have both. And so being able to find that sense of identity, that I belonged not only in one place, but in both places together, it meant a lot for me. At that point, I was shattered and broken. I didn't know who I was, but I was like, well, cool. Here are other people who are like I am. So yeah, that is how recovery to practice taught me who I am.
Oh, I love that. That is so amazing. And that's really why we're talking about this today. If you have been impacted, not only just by recovery to practice, but by something you've seen on social media, let us know, because this is a huge, just impacting kind of story. And we know that Brooke's not the only one that has experienced that, but it brings up so much emotion, you know, for her and for me and for all of us who've been connected with this community, just to know that here is someone, you know, Brooke, that you went through thinking, man, I don't have a place, to now I have a place. And not only do I have a place and I can say that I am in recovery, but there's a whole world of opportunity, you know, out there that I can take part in. And so I want to transition into that. And I know that you have been volunteering with a group. You want to tell us a little bit about what's been going on there and how that came about?
Okay, so like I said, I jumped into the RTP community head first. You know, I clicked the little dots and I said, you know, show me this group, show me posts from this group before anything else. So I was getting all of the updates because I was fascinated with this whole new world that was opened up to me. And I saw Jenna Nesbitt post about, it was either Jenna or Christy. I can't remember which one. Christy Weaver or Jenna Nesbitt posted, we need volunteers for the Big Texas Rally for Recovery, which is something I had never heard of before. There's the page right there. So I was like, I have been in this recovery game since 2006. Recovery month, which is September, has been a thing for 30 years. And the rally itself has been going on for 9 years, the Texas rally. So how have I never heard of this? What is it? And heck yeah, give me something to do, basically. And so I volunteered for the marketing committee, which, you know, my background is in marketing. That's what I've done professionally, but in real estate marketing, I just figured, hey, why not see if I can cross over some skills here. And I just kept following along. We were having weekly call-in meetings, and I just kept calling in and kept offering help. And what ended up happening is so here's a huge part of my story. I always just reach out to people on social media. Like, I will message anyone on social media. I will send them a private message. Like, probably I don't really abuse it. But I messaged the page, the Big Texas Rally for Recovery page, and I said, hey, I'm volunteering with this year's rally. Can you give me access to the page? So Ben Bass had, he was the admin of the page. He added me like immediately within 30 seconds. And so I started pushing the rally, changing the logos, things, just simple things, you know. But the next time we met, everyone on the phone call was like, whoa, somebody is doing marketing on the Facebook page. And I was like, oh, it's me. And so all of a sudden I became the social media chairperson, which has been a lot of fun. It's been really a learning experience. I got to apply a ton of experience that I gained while I was either pregnant or nursing, basically stuck on my couch for 4 years straight. I learned a lot about how to navigate Facebook and things like that, and I was able to apply it directly to the rally. So all of the stuff that you're scrolling through right here, like that, the graphic for the rally, I made that on Canva, by the way. If you guys don't know what Canva is, check it out. It'll help you a lot. You can make your own graphics, things like that. I'm not special. I just use Canva. So yeah, we've got all of this stuff. And so basically, I just started sharing recovery articles, following more pages, more relevant pages about recovery in any capacity, so that I could increase audience engagement. And these are all phrases that I picked up through this endeavor. So I was never necessarily a social media marketing person necessarily, but I am now. So that translated into my job in real estate. I became, the social media director I was doing social media for multiple apartment complexes, things like that, small businesses. And yeah, I've been able to get all of this great experience through volunteering with the rally. At times it has been a lot and overwhelming, but I will tell you that one of the posts on there is about Tiffany Jenkins. She's coming. She's going to come speak at the rally. She has a YouTube channel and Facebook channel called Juggling the Jenkins, which is great. It's really relatable for moms specifically, but she talks a lot about mental health and her recovery from substance use disorder. And I actually was able to get in touch with her, reach out to her by emailing her from my personal email address. I think I titled the email, "Read This or Die Regretting It." And then in turn, I just said, hey, we're doing this Big Texas Rally for Recovery. Here's the idea. We want to remove all the barriers to recovery. We want to open it up to anybody who may not know about recovery or who may think they don't belong. I think you'd be a great fit. And then I started tagging the Big Texas Rally for Recovery in her live stream videos. Ooh. So that this phrase, Big Texas Rally for Recovery, so that it showed up over and over and over again to her. So eventually I got a response from her publicist, and then immediately turned it over to our programs committee. And so that became a thing. And it really it was mind blowing to me how reaching out directly to someone with 600,000 followers, how that was possible. But it worked. So that was cool. it was a confidence boost, but
Yeah.
but it was great experience. I'm really I was really happy to be able to make that happen.
That is so amazing. And, that's why we're talking about this today, is because so much is possible when you just open yourself up to things that maybe you've not done before or even thought as an avenue for connecting and collaborating with other people. So many different opportunities can occur. And that's the type of thing that we like to foster inside of the Recovery to Practice virtual community. And so I want to pause just for a second here. If you're not already part of our virtual community, please do say group below if you'd like for us to help you get into that group, because we would love to show you how to get into the group and to invite you in there. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of it here just a second, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how Brooke has been able to network inside the community. So this is our virtual community. We have a public page, which you're seeing us on now, but this is inside of our virtual community. And we have all kinds of resources here. We have a resource library. We have events that we share. And literally just 2 hours ago, one of our group members talked about how they were on the search for 12-step or other recovery-related groups because they're creating a master resource list in their area, which is in Fort Worth. And right away, we already have 17 comments rolling in just in the past couple of hours, which is amazing. So these are the kind of things that are possible when you allow yourself to be connected to other people. And Facebook is kind of a big land out there, the Facebook nation, but there's these smaller pockets, places that you can connect and really feel like it is sort of your home base on Facebook. And someplace that's positive. We are a highly moderated community. Brooke is actually one of our moderators and has been doing that for quite some time now, is going to be helping us out with some videos and interviewing and some of those things coming up. So we're really excited about that. And let us know if you are actually a Recovery to Practice member. We'd love to say hi to our members, give you a shout out. Be sure just to say member down there, and we would love to say hi to you. So tell us just a few things that have happened in terms of networking inside the Recovery to Practice group for you.
Okay, so networking within RTP specifically has been a huge deal for me. Prior in my life, I would use social media only as like a temporary fix for boredness or for boredom. But right, exactly. You can't put down the phone, but don't know why. Not getting anything. Couldn't tell you what I've been doing. But what I started doing was, and of course, through the process, finding identity and finding belonging and things like that, it made me a lot more comfortable with this concept. But carrying out these Facebook relationships in real life, IRL, right? So meeting Christy Weaver, that was a huge deal to me. Meeting, Dusty Burrows. Oh, wow. So Dusty and I have a ton of friends in common. Dusty does So Bar Basics. It's a recovery support group for bartenders or people in the service industry that are in recovery, which is huge and wonderful and fills this awesome void that wasn't filled before, at least not locally. Meeting Jana Murphy McGee, you guys see her on her with her hyphenated name on RTP. Meeting Jessie Hodette. So Jana and Jessie, they introduced me, really gave me a firm grasp on the concept of peer support. So you hear recovery coach, or actually, yes, you hear the phrase recovery coach thrown around a lot in the Facebook world with a negative connotation attached to it. Yeah. Because there are predatory coaches out there that are after people's insurance policies. So the phrase is putting heads in beds. And that's terrible. But thank God for people like Jessie Hodette and Jana Murphy McGee that introduced me to the concept of peer support in an ethical way. So to practice these concepts and to be held accountable, not to just be out there rogue, pretending to save people's lives to line your pocketbook. I thank God that they are the two women that introduced me to the concept, Jana with the substance use disorder side and Jessie with the mental health side. I actually went through Jessie's training program, which is awesome. If anybody's thinking about becoming certified as a mental health peer specialist, I've got to give it to her. Jessie is a phenomenal instructor. I developed a relationship with Jana personally because we were both, so that's another thing. In January, Carrie Carrie messaged me and said, hey, you've been one of our most active members in the group, so would you like to be a moderator? And I was like, oh God, didn't realize how much I was on that group. Okay, sure. But that's where I got to know Jana. Jana's also a mod, and I loved the sense of camaraderie that I experienced through learning that with Jana, through expanding my mind, my political stance even, but being able to do that in a safe way. I knew that these people at least followed some ethical guidelines. And so anything I said or did could, if it was wrong or inappropriate, could be corrected in an ethical, respectful fashion, or they could guide me in my professional journey. So yeah, I love that. Also, when I went through part of my service plan to regain custody of my children, I met Sherry Leva. You guys will see her in RTP. She's in there too. And I met Amanda January. She is also in RTP. And I also met Michelle Tuggle. And we all, in some form or fashion, have had experience in the Child Protective Services DFPS system. So we got together and we saw a gap, a huge shortcoming. And that was that parents were losing custody of their children due to underlying mental health or substance use disorders and nothing else. Parents were unable to complete service plans in the time allotted to them because of those issues, because of these real issues that they had. And it was nothing more than that. So we got together, and of course I had been introduced to that concept of peer support. And we realized we are peer support. Like that is what we're doing here. That's what we're gonna do. So Michelle, Sherry, Amanda, and two other women and I started an organization called Rising Dawn Peer Support. And our ultimate goal is to make sure that no mother falls through the cracks. We know that that's our little niche, that we are moms, we can relate to moms, and we can support, educate, and empower moms to be able to get through the most shameful thing that's ever happened to them, and that's saying something whenever we're all, well, Michelle and Sherry and I are all women with a history of substance use disorder, but it's the most shameful thing that can happen to a mom. And we've been through it, we've lived it, and we're here to show people a healthy way out. So, and yeah, we never would have come together. We never would have known about peer support. We never would have met Michelle had it not been for RTP.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know we're kind of wrapping up our time here, and there's so many more things. Like, honestly, Brooke and I could talk about this all day long because she's had such a phenomenal experience, not only inside the community, but just the ripple effects of that, the people that she's met, the way that she's gone about her networking that has benefited other organizations such as the Big Texas Rally for Recovery. And think of all the people that will end up attending that event and who will be able to take part in hearing, the Jenkins the Dudley and the Jenkins woman and all the things, and that would not be possible had all those other things not happened before that. It's just unbelievable to me. It's just like a Pandora's box of amazingness that can happen.
It is. So, and that's another thing I wanted to touch on. So I met Amy Higginbotham through RTP and through in real life meetings at the Tarrant County ROSC. That's where I met Christy in person and all of this. And Amy then called me a couple of weeks ago and asked me if I could come and help someone at a treatment center who had an active CPS case. That was incredible. But what was even more powerful was the fact that through RTP, I had made all of these connections with people that worked in administration at treatment centers. And whenever moms had contacted me at the very beginning of their cases and said, I'm struggling, what you said meant something to me, I want to get help, I was able to help 3 different women get into treatment because I had email addresses, because I had Facebook Messenger, because I could contact people directly and say, I have a mom who's desperate and she needs help. And they got in. It was so powerful, you know, it was all within 1 week too. I was there with Amy that week talking to someone. I was at Nexus with 2 other moms, and then at Homeward Bound with another one, you know. Wow. And that was just incredible to me that I was able to reach out in that capacity directly to someone, and that's thanks to RTP through networking with other professionals.
Yes, yes. And so if you have been similarly impacted, I know that I only hear about these things just, you know, as I'm talking with people and they become our moderators and I spend more time with them that way. But if you have been impacted in some amazing way, or if you've just found this to be an incredible story, please feel free to pound on that button down there and let somebody know, bring them into this conversation, because who knows who this could impact by them connecting with Brooke, connecting with myself, connecting with the Recovery to Practice community. I mean, sky's the limit on what can happen. And so we just want to put this out into the interwebs and to let people know what we're doing inside of this group is amazing. The connections you can make are amazing. And I know we're running short on time, but I did want to just give a shout out to Living Recovery Out Loud. And that's what we do for people who are in recovery, like Brooke and so many others inside of our virtual community. You know, being able to live that out loud, not only does it help decrease the stigma that can be out there in the world when it comes to recovery and being in recovery, but it also can provide opportunity. And so I know you had an amazing opportunity because of a certain picture that you put up online. I'm going to share that now. Tell us what happened with this.
Okay, so Mobilize Recovery. Okay, this is now I'm getting my facts straight. It was Christy that introduced me, or that sent the call to action about the rally, and it was Jenna that posted about Mobilize Recovery. It was an application process through the Facebook Community Leadership Grant, where they were going to invite industry leaders within the recovery community to Las Vegas for a convention. And so I applied. So I did not go to Vegas, but I did get accepted to the digital group. And so I followed along, had access to all of the trainings, which is really informative, really cool. It expanded my network I went from about 1,200 friends on Facebook to about 4,000 is what I have now. And that is thanks to that little profile frame right there, which is the Mobilize Recovery frame. And the concept is that we don't have to be anonymous if we don't want to. For some people, anonymity is so important, and that is a part of themselves that they want to keep private. You know, but for others like me, it's incredibly liberating to be able to talk about it and to say, I went through this, that happened to me, it was a big deal, and it's a part of my life. So I left that as my profile picture because, you know, I wanted people to know. So I went and I applied for a job with an app. With an app for moms that has nothing to do with recovery directly. But I was doing the interview, and the person interviewing me said, are you the person who has some connection to the recovery community? I can't remember if that's you or not. And I said, yeah, sure do. That's me. And told her a little bit about, I didn't directly get into, yes, I've been to prison and I have felonies. I'm not going to pass that background check. But I will tell you that after we had the discussion about recovery within that conversation, whenever the background check came up, it was a non-issue because she had seen my profile and she saw that I was active in the community. And it's not like she saw a picture of me from 2010 with drug paraphernalia and cash laying around. It's like she saw me actively involved in the recovery community, and that it was a part of me. She didn't pass judgment. She recognized it as a thing that happens to everyone. You know, pretty much everyone knows someone or is someone that has been directly affected by substance use or mental health disorders. And that means that if we recover out loud, we can make sure that recovery affects them the same way. So that's why it's important to me not to shut up.
Yay! Oh, this is so great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you, Tracy, for your comment here about thanking Brooke for sharing, and also for the important work that we're doing in the community. Yes, absolutely. And thank you to Adrian and Dusty and Trevor who joined us live. This has been an amazing chat. I know that we'll be doing more of these, and you'll be seeing more of Brooke on live video inside of our community, of course, and perhaps here on our page. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Brooke, thank you for your time and for sharing sharing your story and just for being an active member who has really utilized the community in the way that we have intended it to be used to all its fullest capacity. And I know there's so much more that you'll be bringing to the community as well in the days to come. So thank you guys again so much. Be sure to let people know what we're talking about here. Pound that button, like I said, and get this out, get this message out, as well as bring people into the conversation. If you do want to join our Recovery to Practice group, just say group below and we'll make sure that you get the link to that group, or you can just type in Recovery to Practice into your Facebook search bar and go to the background that looks green. Go green, I say, go green for the group, and then you'll find us there. Be sure that you answer the 3 entry questions because we are very specific about that. You must answer our 3 questions for entry into our group. That's all we ask. So we know that you want to be there and are ready to have a productive conversation around the principles of recovery, which is what we're doing inside of that group, bringing principles of recovery into the practice of addiction professionals, peer providers, educators, students, and really anybody else in the community that's willing to contribute to that contribute to the conversation and have a productive dialogue. So thanks again, Brooke. I'm so glad that you got to be here today, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.